to Knoxville, don't be late. Baker's Live, it's gonna be great. June 5th and 6th, mark your date at Dollywood, we'll celebrate. Meet Baker and more cool friends, live show magic that never ends. Come to Dollywood, feel the vibe. With great people there, it's gonna be a ride. Rides, fun, and meet and greet. Baker and pals, the crew's so sweet. Get ready for laughs, cheers, and thrills. Knoxville's the place, it's giving chills. Meet Baker and more cool friends. Live show magic that never ends. Come to Dollywood, feel the vibe. With great people there, it's gonna be a ride. June 5th and 6th, don't miss the fun. Meet Baker and friends, it's second to none. Baker and friends, it's second to
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are, whoever you are, and what, if any, you might be. And welcome to day 7 in the Natalie Cochran case. The case where we are to find out if she intentionally unalived her husband with an insulin injection, or he accidentally took it, or we don't know why. I've been clear on my stance on it. I didn't believe that the state proved it. We are going to spend today with 3 experts. 3 experts that will potentially talk about his anabolic use combined with insulin, hopefully, because I have found out with all you wonderful people in chat that it's not well known that insulin is a big part of bodybuilding strongman community. So I hope they will bring someone on who can tell it to the normal person, because the normal person thinks insulin, diabetes. So that's what I want from an expert. I want an expert to talk about his seizures, his medical history, to put it in perspective that he could have had a collapse. It could just be his brain swelling, and we know the cause of death listed is organ failure in the lungs and the heart because of brain swelling. Can they come in and kind of enforce that? I would like that to be part of it. The last expert, I'm not sure what they should talk about. Maybe how insulin works, that you can't just drop down 5 seconds after you inject it, and that you wouldn't see the remember the dip spike in his blood glucose. That's what I kind of want from the defense, if they are to convince the jury. I'm not convinced that the state proved it, but I've seen enough trials that I have her at 85-90% chance of getting convicted. Yeah, I think that we will see the same as we've seen in other cases. They did something bad before, they should prove it. I actually had the same position in the Adam Montgomery trial. I didn't believe they proved that it happened the way Kayla claimed because of the lack of evidence in the car. I don't like many of the people we see as defendants in cases, but I still believe that the state have to prove it. We give the state all the power. They should do everything they can to prove that their presumptions are correct. I don't feel I'm there yet with this case. I know probably about 25% of people in chat believes the other way, and that is absolutely fine. Because I'm not a fan of echo chambers. I'm a fan of discussions. We can talk about how you see stuff, because just because I own a YouTube channel, it doesn't mean that I am right. Hey, Krista and Danny and Iris. Oh, I thought you would be frozen to death now. And Kathleen and Tash and Helen from Holland and Laura Reicher. Brokenhearted, I hope you will get well sooner. Hey, Fala and Anya. Peter and Eileen. Sui, Nina the Canadian. You missed your Saturday giveaway. Been suffering insomnia, but sat around 10 p.m. Tiredness hit me like a ton of bricks and fell asleep. Yeah, I saw you in chat. We had a double winner, and of course Valhalla cheated in the members only giveaway. But other than that, it was a great stream. I hope when I get to ship all of the stuff out, people will enjoy it, and hopefully everything will reach the people that is destined to have it. I have had most of the addresses shipped to me. Valhalla can F himself. I'm going to bring it when I'm going over in June. I'm going to save those $15. Hey, Melissa Crawford. Is it me or is he muted? Am I muted? Then I've been talking for a long time, not saying anything. Mr. Fedorowski. Yo. Good morning. Happy Monday. What did you miss on defense side? Not much. A lot of coach kids talking about, well, he was just constantly shooting up in the kitchen with all of his roids. And he was sharing his business plans with his 10-year-old and talking about how the government gave special contracts to women-led businesses. And it was... I didn't like the kids testifying. I really liked the graphic designer that they tried to kind of imply might have faked some documents for them because he didn't want to talk to the Popo. But that was because the Popo officers had been in a lawsuit where another Popo officer beat up a suspect. They settled out of court, but these two people were mentioned apparently in a Charleston Gazette article that stated they had done witness intimidation. So I really thought that was a good explanation. I don't know if you can bring in that article, but they should have done that if it's allowed. It's only 7. Haven't had my coffee yet. Well, let's get on it. Did defense change our mind to guilty? That's a bad look. I didn't feel they did, but I will be harsh on both sides. If I criticize the state, I'll also criticize the defense. Hey, expert fluffing. Your lungs froze when I got off the plane. Snaps can keep you warm. Yeah, you get some snaps. No. I read that sitting here crocheting in Afghan. I thought, oh, I didn't know I have any viewers over there. I have a very, very, very small amount of Indian people. And I don't understand why, because I never really do any of the content or any of the times. But rumors has it that if you have friends who buy subscribers, they are mostly bought from Indian channels. You can cheat the algorithm. You can buy subscribers. Some people do it. I don't understand why, because it doesn't really give anything to your channel. But then, because if they come looking and they have an Indian audience, you'll get an Indian audience as well. So maybe I know some people who are bad. Good morning, afternoon, lovely people from the Liverpool area. Oh, the wrong Reds. Is this trial common law court or admiralty court? This is a traveler of the land who is an entity, not a business. Hey, Lefty. Rates crochet. I don't think it would be that funny crocheting an Afghan in Afghanistan. Yeah, I know what an Afghan is. It's kind of like a plate. Yeah, because I've had some troubles with my camera, and so I was just, oh, no more technical problems, please. And yes, I have caught in the background, but it hasn't gone. Let's see how late there will be today. Normally it'll be 15 minutes. Hey, Sky Bill, I really want to learn how to crochet. Then you should join the Snits and Stitch that they have on the Discord. Maybe the ladies can teach you how to crochet. I don't know what goes on. It's no men allowed. So it's a safe space, I think they call it. Rumor has it she will take this. So do I think it's a good idea? That's a different thing. But if they're going to put her up there, they need some very, very, very strong expert evidence claiming that it could have been his bodybuilding stuff. And I really want to see evidence of him buying these roids. And I know, yeah, well, you buy it on the dark web or you buy it through some funny companies, but at least give me some evidence, search history, purchases on dingy websites, because so far his roid use is he said, she said. No, you're not technically late. Trial hasn't started. Yeah, that's remember to take breaks, because I started watching that when it was live, and I got so mad that I didn't get to sleep, and I had a show at 5 in the morning. I didn't get to sleep till 3 a.m. That was a rough show. Men are allowed. Flash fan jumps in. Well, I just made that up so I don't have to be there because I'm sleeping. Natalie is another Robert Tellis and Sarah Boone. I don't see it that way, but that's your right to see it like that. But Robert Tellis, the idiot, hid the evidence in his house. Sarah Boone, from the beginning, admitted to doing it. This didn't even become a case till months later. No one suspected any wrongdoing. So, alone on that basis, plus the case had been dropped once. Then they found the guy we saw from Texas, what's his name, the other day. And I didn't feel he brought anything new to it that Dr. Kriegler didn't say already. Hey, Jemima. Yeah, especially because they're just, I don't like to say the R word. I don't use it about people who have mental problems, but these people seem like the R word would be a great description of them. They don't, Plevin, who claims science isn't just things, you can always discuss science. No, because the science the ARCA guys does, we're not talking about gender studies or philosophy. We're talking about hard science. Hard science, you need to provide all the calculations you did to get to your conclusion. And it's not like they can go to court and say, yeah, well, maybe I think so. Did you ever do anything? Nah, I looked at the car and that's it. But Plevin's, I don't know what Plevin's education is. I don't know what Plevin's history is. I just know he doesn't understand physics. And I don't just say it because I feel like he's stupid, but I really think he willfully won't understand what evidence is. I love all these people are constantly online talking to us about how stupid we are, but none of them can ever tell how they get to the conclusion that we don't understand the evidence. Their own ME said, manner of death, we don't know. One person said today, well, they asked Dr. Russell if it was self-deletion. Yes, because that's one of the 4 manners of death that can be. So when she makes the conclusion, she'll go through it and say, could it be this? Could it be this? Could it be this? Could it be this? Yeah, but that's not how it works. It's exactly how it works. But yeah, I don't know. I shouldn't get as worked up as I do, but it's because I feel these people are just, I don't know if they're willfully ignorant or they really don't understand that science works most places except Canton. The newest thing I saw is this one today, because this is fantastic. I had to comment on that one. This is a guy who used the exact same program that they must have used. So first of all, she's on the side of the road on the curb, and we know it's a hard curb. Pretty good. But let's follow along. Backs up, backs up, backs up, backs up, and boom. There she hits John. Only little bit of problem. This is where Trooper Paul didn't know the debris field started. So again, you have to move this down here, and then the body should end up here. But don't worry about it. And then where does the car go? Funny enough, he stops it right here. This is where Higgins apparently parked his truck, even though he never, ever, ever mentioned the truck or the Jeep before trial. I'm not a physicist or a science major, but unless she makes a violent steering wheel turn, she's at least gonna clip this part of the Jeep. Plus, we know after the impact, there are no deceleration shown in the graph. I did this same calculations with help of ChatGPT. So again, I'm not that smart. The car from 24.6 miles per hour, if it stops point half of a second after it hits John, it would end up somewhere in this area. No one in the house heard anything. Remember, Jen McCabe was constantly looking out the window. They didn't hear the car gun it down the road because they were hearing it's raining men. They didn't hear her violently accelerating. It's a pretty big engine. On a Saturday night in a snowstorm, no one else is around, but they didn't hear anything. They didn't hear when her car rode the curve all the way up here. They didn't hear when it crashed into Higgins' Jeep or when the tires screeched when she applied the brakes. It didn't hear when it flipped over because it's still on the curve here. And if she's turning the wheel violently and hitting the curb, there's a very high likelihood she could even flip her car. But she is to Canton what Finnish people are to Raleigh, because she clearly clearly could just evade him. No problems. No problems at all. These are the people that people rely on to give them the facts because they don't trust people because they don't like Aiden. Yeah. I didn't see Robert Tillis, but she's not a Sarah Boone. Robert Tillis was he was just a weirdo. When he took the stand, he buried himself. We shall see. I hope she takes the stand. Yeah, well, I'm not the likelihood you are right and I'm wrong is just as high. I don't know anything. Matti Aribirati, hello. They dropped the charges the first time, which is a red flag. Yeah, because they can't prove there's the insulin in the system. They can only say it must have been insulin because of the glucose drops. Hey, Jaime. Didn't he have lifts in his shoes as well? Masshole said she couldn't get over no dog DNA. Well, no. Did you notice how she was sitting there the entire time? She looked like Jamie when I'm trying to tell a joke. Hey, Hyacinth. Oh yeah, Jemima got into it with a lady yesterday who claimed that she's been practicing law for 15 years, but never really showed us when, where, or as what. They are true grifters. No, I don't even think they are grifting. Well, Plevin is, but the other idiots, they do their GoFundMe and then they don't use the money for what it's worth, which for what it's grifted for, which is against TOS, which should bar them for doing it again. I believe it is the rules on GoFundMe, but or Give Send Go. But they just hate Aiden so much they hate Karen Reed. They are blind because of hate. Rip Robin Williams. Yeah, get to bed. There was a plow on the Jeep too. Yeah, I know. I didn't make the video. But yeah, that would make it even harder because wouldn't that protrude outside of the bumper area? So they're idiots. Yeah, and as long as you don't get beyond reasonable doubt, and we want that in the Karen Reed case, so we want it in this case. We have to treat every case, no matter how unlikely the defendant is, the same. Exactly. Yes. Lefty is not right. Unless we see this lady straddle a bush, I believe she's not guilty. It's always the correct way to look for bush straddlers. Hey, Mo Raiders, welcome. And hope you're having a wonderful Monday morning. You don't know anything, Lefty. Yeah, he looked like Boss Baby. And court is 10 minutes late. I love when you dropped your bar license or your bar pass list, and you said, if you knock at my school, just know that Lally went to the same school. But Lally was probably in the top 90% of his class. Yes, Wednesday is when John passed away, the 29th. And am I correct? There should be a Karen Reed hearing on Friday. Jemima, can you look at it on
All rise. Honorable Chuck Patrick III,
the Green hearing? Hey, LSG. Welcome.
Good morning. We continue in the case of State of West Virginia versus Natalie P. Cochran. This is case number 23-F-343K. Are there any matters that we need to take up out of the presence of the jury on behalf of the state?
State, Your Honor. Thank you.
Anything
Not
on
at-
behalf of the defense?
Not at this time, Your Honor. Thank you.
Thank you. Bring in the jury, please,
He
Bailiff.
doesn't make rulings, you know that.
Pardon? I don't know.
I really don't hope this is the kid that we weren't allowed to see on Thursday.
Okay.
Hey, Holly.
Do you have the phone number?
Yeah, we need him to. Did he say Chick-fil-A today? No, he said, I'm going to bring you some treats. He didn't say what it was. It's always the biggest surprise in the case. What did the judge bring? I really like this judge. Hey, Bergson, how are we doing today? Hey, Danny T.
Hi, you have reached Dr. Zardis. Please leave a message. Thank you.
You have a better number?
Oh, so they can't reach the experts on the phone again. Why haven't you tested this before you go to trial? I hope it's not her son, because we were not allowed to see him the other day. And he was told that if he was sitting there, he would be visible.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. I'm so glad to see you all. You came back, and I appreciate it so much. You can see we're still having a few problems. That's why we're a little bit late this morning. We're trying to work out all the bugs. Thank you very much for the fudge. I will eat all the fudge that I can get, as you can see, and I appreciate it very much. And don't be despondent that you just got donut holes this morning, because I've decided to declare a pizza day today.
Woohoo!
And I'm going to have pizza for you for lunch. So you can count on that, and that'll be a little incentive for you to hang around and to look forward to lunch. Doctor, is that you on the line? Can you hear me? We can hear him, but he can't hear us, apparently.
Yeah, he's really he's doing the right thing, because
The most important people in this case that everybody seems to have forgotten in this room is the jury. So we're going to take a 15-minute break, and both sides take a pregnant pause and think about the jury.
Hi, you have reached Dr. Zardis.
he is thinking about the jury.
We somehow need to get word to him to pick up the phone. Can you text him?
I don't think he doesn't really respond to text very well. Why don't you stand up in front of the camera and make answer your phone?
I'm not sure that he can see us. Maybe he can.
Because it's modern court. Imagine if they could get along with what everyone has been doing for the last 5 years. Donut holes is small, this size donuts. It's just what they take out of the donut, but you don't really take it out. If you make a real donut, you'll just make it without the hole.
That's
Because they have him on Zoom.
now he does have his phone. Can you call again, Colleen? Can you hear us, doctor, now?
I can hear you on the phone.
Okay, that's what we're going to do is use the phone for audio.
Okay, our microphone is muted.
Okay.
Muted now?
Ask him if he wants to turn the speaker.
You can turn the speaker phone on and put the phone down, and we can work it that way.
Hello, can you hear?
Yes, we can hear perfectly well. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, sir.
All right.
Your Honor, there's probably a small matter we need to approach the bench on before we.
No, you don't. You don't need to approach the bench because you were asked before and you didn't have anything.
All right.
And why are the experts not showing up? I really hate that. No, I think it's very different from state to state, but this guy really tries to. And again, he knows they are paid nothing and they're losing money going to court. So I think it's really, really nice of him to give them something. We back in before the coup, we always had a mug of, what do you call it, like a pitcher of coffee put in the jury room so we could just drink coffee. Oh, we can't do that anymore. Well, the coup is gone. Why can't we get coffee? Well, we haven't changed the
All
rules
right,
yet.
members of the jury, as you can plainly see, we are still on the
No, it was just the kids were so coached.
defense case in chief, and I'd ask Mr. Selden to call the next witness.
Your Honor, I would like to call Dr. Dragovich, and I'm not even going to try and pronounce his first name. I will let him do that.
All right, doctor, would you please stand and raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. You may be seated, sir.
Thank you.
You may proceed, Mr. Selden.
Thank you. Would you please state for the court your full name and how you spell it?
Wilfred Brimley.
I am Ljubisa Jovan Dragovic. That's Ljubisa, middle Jovan, last Dragovic.
Where do you work, Dr. Dragovich, and what's your title?
I work in the capacity of chief forensic pathologist and chief medical examiner for County of Oakland in Michigan. And I work here in this building. This is my building, building 28 feet in Oakland County Government Complex. And this is one of our conference rooms for this purpose and other purposes, meetings and or whatever other needs.
Now, from your testimony, you're a doctor. What areas are you designated as a doctor? And by that question, do you have the title of a neuropathologist?
Oh, yes. Well, I'm a physician, MD. I graduated back 49 and a half years ago at Medical Faculty, University of Belgrade. And I went through.
So we have a doctor from Belgrade and a lawyer from Warsaw. I'm just saying, the Ruskies are coming.
Multiple training as far as pathology. I'm trained in anatomical pathology, board certified by the American Board of Pathology. I'm board certified in neuropathology, by the American Board of Pathology and board certified in forensic pathology by the American Board of Pathology. Those occurred back in 1982, 1985, and 1987, respectively.
Are you
So he was actually educated during the Eastern Bloc period. Interesting. Hey, Rebe. I had a great weekend. I did a great giveaway.
licensed to practice in any states?
Yes, sir. I'm licensed to practice in the state of Michigan, and I'm licensed in the state of New York, where I originally obtained my license back in, I believe, 1982.
I believe you said you were board certified, and once again, for clarity, what areas are you board certified in?
I'm board certified in anatomical pathology, in neuropathology, and in forensic pathology.
Thank you. Do you have any publications, or have you authored any publications of any kind related to your field?
Yes, in both fields, both neuropathology and forensic pathology, I've done some original research papers with some of my associates over time, and I have also authored several chapters in textbooks addressing the areas of the neuropathology of trauma in infants and children, and in the textbook of essential forensic neuropathology. Also, I have authored the chapter in sharp force injury and separate chapter in blunt force injury in an international textbook of forensic pathology.
Do you have any teaching experience?
Yes, over time,
Hi, Lita.
I've been involved in various capacities. I've served as clinical associate professor at the Department of Neurology at Wayne State University Medical School in Detroit, Michigan, from, I believe, somewhere in 1988 to 1987 through a few years ago when I effectively retired or resigned because of the geographical distance that became a problem, because my office is about 25 miles away from the campus of the University Hospital, and I basically could not run there, attend to the rounds and teaching sessions, and continue my work here, my day-to-day work here. And
He couldn't teach on the college because he couldn't drive 25 miles and fool around there and do his job.
the city of Pontiac, where my office is.
Okay, now, you mentioned your day-to-day work. What is that day-to-day work?
My day-to-day work is medical legal investigation of death. That is a statutory obligation, and my position here is governed by the state statutes. The state statute is called the Medical Examiner's Act of the state of Michigan, and it requires me, among other people who are involved in this, to open up medical legal death investigation and any sudden suspicion or unexplained death that needs to be addressed at any given time. The purpose of that is to establish the cause.
Finally, Brandon. Sorry we started at the correct time today.
Why someone died, and the manner of death, how that came upon this person. So those are the two critical issues that ought to be addressed as compliance to the statutory requirements, and also to review those findings to paper. Over time, of course, we have electronic database and everything, but we still follow the letter of the law here and review things to paper.
All right. And in your job as a medical examiner and also a forensic pathologist, you conduct autopsies, do you not?
Yes, I actually conducted 6 of them over the weekend. 4
Okay.
on Saturday and 2 yesterday.
All right. Can you estimate, and if you can, fine, if you can't, can you estimate approximately how many autopsies you've done over your career?
I can't, but roughly it will be in thousands because I've been in this line of work for almost.
Alice, it's probably because I'm Danish. We don't fool around that much with long-winded words. We just need to get to the point and get done with it.
Almost 40 years, and in the earlier days, when I worked in Detroit for County of Wayne, I was very, very busy. I remember that in 1988, I performed approximately 1,200 that year only. So it was in those days, many years ago. It was 36, 37 years ago now. But things have slowed down, and obviously I moved to a different jurisdiction. But bottom line would be thousands. How many?
All right.
10,000, 1,000, 8,000. I can't tell because I don't keep track of that.
That's sufficient.
One thing I would like, both for state and defense, tell your experts only answer the question and do it in 10 words or less. We just spent 2 minutes for him not to know how many autopsies he did, but he did at least 1,500 back in 88. You can just say, well, I can't number it, but it's probably more than 5,000 and less than 10.
As a forensic pathologist and a neuropathologist, have you testified in any trials?
This is the first this week, but yes, in a direct in person, in local court, district court, circuit court, throughout the state of Michigan and coast to coast, from the East Coast to West Coast and down to Alabama and Louisiana and Florida and wherever I was subpoenaed or requested to come in and to provide the interpretations that may be needed.
All right. Your Honor, I submit at this point that Dr. Dragovich is to be certified as an expert in the fields of neuropathology and forensic pathology.
Mr. Truman, Ms. Acord, do you wish to engage in voir dire of the proposed expert witness?
No, Your Honor, we accept him as an expert.
All right, Dr. Dragovich is considered an expert in the fields of forensic pathology and neuropathology.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome.
Dr. Dragovich, did you prepare a report for this court?
He's a forensic pathologist, so I guess to counter the state's forensic pathologist.
In the case of the state.
Kathy, you didn't lose anything because they were late. They couldn't get the phone to work, and his CV took forever because he can't answer a question yes or no.
State of West Virginia versus Natalie Cochran.
Yes, I did, sir.
Okay. I would like to submit this report as an exhibit and whatever defendant's last number is.
It'll be defendant's exhibit number 11, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Ivan Drago, I believe his name was Dragovic. No, but you know how it is with the jury. They need an expert to tell them. Again, as always, go back to the Karen Reed case. Oh, we didn't trust the expert because they were hired by the insurance company. Where did you get that from? I don't know. Jamie would like to meet a strapping young Russian and get the name Jamie Dragovic. So if anyone knows a strapping young Russian.
Now, Dr. Dragovich, because of the wonders of technology, I cannot hand you this report, but do you have a copy of the report you submitted? At the top, it's identified in the top as Oakland County, Michigan. And there's various information there, including your name and Chief of Forensic Pathology. It's dated January 6th of 2025. And do you have that report, which numbers 3 pages?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm going to ask you questions related to this report. All right?
That's fine.
I want to set this here so I don't forget it. Now, on page 1 of that report, and if you would follow along with me, at the bottom, it has a section called Materials Reviewed. Would you please tell this court what materials you reviewed in preparation for this report and your testimony?
Yes, I will. Thank you. Number 1 would be Hereditary General Hospital records regarding Michael Cochran. Number 2 would be Charleston Area Medical Center records regarding Michael Cochran. Number 3 would be report of the postmortem examination, case number WV-2019-3671. Michael Cochran, deceased, issued by Fyodor Kubicek, MD, on December 3rd, 2019. Number 4, the autopsy photograph. Number 5 would be report the re-examination and examination of the remains of Michael Cochran, deceased, performed by Dr. Paul at Zurita, MD, on July 11, 2023. And then medical report of Diane R. Krieger, MD, based on record review issued on April 13, 2023.
Do you believe that the totality of those records informs you enough to make an informed decision and to give your opinion and testimony here today in this case?
Yes.
On page 2 of your report,
Yes, sir.
you have a section titled Brief Case Synopsis and Issues to be Addressed. Would you give a brief synopsis of this case as you understand it and the issues you were to address?
Well, this is an unfortunate death of a 38-year-old man who was a bodybuilding enthusiast, and based on the information that took an excessive amount of clomiphene sulfate supplements that he purchased in Mexico, subsequently developed seizures, and that same day, which was February 6, 2019, as indicated, and lost consciousness or lost his balance and struck his head during a fall at home. Then became.
Let me stop you.
Can anyone understand anything he's saying? He couldn't get to the point when he was talking about himself, but here he's just reading very, very fast.
right there.
Yes, sir.
Did this information about the circumstances come from your review of the medical records?
This was the account provided throughout and matched with other accounts from the records and from the authorities as well, I believe.
Okay.
Because that was the statement provided by the spouse of Ms. Cochran.
All right. But what I'm getting at is you have, start that. That's sufficient. Thank you. Would you please go on with your synopsis?
Was taken to a local medical center and emergency room, and subsequently where he was documented as suffering from hypoglycemia, and then he was taken to Charleston area medical center for continued treatment, but in the comatose state. And then because of the profound encephalopathy, he was transferred to hospice care and pronounced 5 days later, that is on February 11th of 2019.
What is encephalopathy?
Encephalopathy, in simple translation, means suffering of the brain. And encephalopathy can be caused by various unfavorable factors that may negatively affect the brain function. So it might be lack of oxygen, it might be.
Maybe it would help if they put a microphone closer to the speaker on the phone, the TV or something, turned up the TV. But when he's speed reading, I can't hear anything. Karen Reed, yes. Karen Reed was supposed to start today, but it'll be in April. But there might be a hearing on Friday.
Like glucose, might be traumatic encephalopathy where there is interference with the adequate blood supply to the brain, or various toxic encephalopathies upon exposure to either poisonous gases or poisonous
Oh, yeah, I have.
in so many different ways. There may be also endogenous encephalopathies from in a person.
Someone give Milton his red swing line back already. Who is Milton?
Suffering
Okay.
urine syndrome.
One moment. What's endogenous? Would you explain that to the jury?
Endogenous coming from within the body, from alien organs from within the body, which generally would happen as a result of liver failure and kidney failure or combination thereof.
Okay.
Never watched it.
They can also come from various other endocrinopathies, meaning the diseases of endocrine system, diseases of the glands with internal secretion that control our metabolic functioning day to day in any of our bodies worldwide.
Can you
No, he's Hungarian, I believe.
state that encephalopathy has occurred in this case, Mr. Cochran's brain from a physical examination of that brain?
Well, it would be based not on not so much on inquiry, but the fact that there is disturbance of consciousness, and that was the critical part that was documented throughout. That Mr. Cochran was first of all brought from one site, one hospital in semi-comatose state to another hospital where his unconsciousness.
Okay, so can I interrupt you there for just a moment? So it's a combination of your physical analysis of the body as well as his history.
I know it's a movie, and I've been looking for it on every streaming service I got, but I've never seen it because everyone's talking about it being one of the greatest movie ever. But that's the same with the Big Lebowski, and I didn't like that one when I saw it.
Which is contained in the medical records. Would that be a fair statement?
Yes, but primarily the fact that there was loss of consciousness continuously occurring, deepening, and finally being complete, and leading to life support and hospice care.
Can a person have an anatomically normal brain and still have seizures?
Of course, the seizure activity is an abnormal electrical activity, and oftentimes in individuals who have cellular level problems or very localized problems with the brain tissue, there will be creation of abnormal electrical activity without necessarily identifiable focus physically. One examines the brain and does not find any such reasonable substrate, as we call it, or change in the tissue to account for a occurrence of abnormal electrical activity that we refer to as seizure. However, in many other situations, that is possible and that can be clearly identified. So you can go either way depending on each and individual case. Every single individual on this planet is slightly different than anybody else, and one cannot generate.
Remember when I said I want the defense experts to come in and give the jury a clear way to get to reasonable doubt? I can't understand anything he's saying because he's just rambling. They really need to talk to their experts about, don't feel interested in your subject. Don't think anyone gives two damns about what the heck your job has been since the 80s. Just tell me, these are the symptoms, that's why it doesn't fit this case, and shut up. Get in and out of there in 10 minutes. Experts are worse than lawyers now. Yes, I'm having a case of the Mondays with this one. No. This lady looks like Wilfred Brimley. I totally agree. It's okay for like a Dr. Russell hearing or something like that, that you say, okay, we're gonna remote you in. But this, it's ridiculous. Yeah, I have a hard time figuring out where to go.
It's a statistical projection about one person vis-a-vis the other person until there is complete examination and a full assessment, a full examination of this person's brain.
Okay, now I have another question at this time. Can a person suffer a brain injury without external signs of injury? For instance, can a person lose consciousness, fall to the ground and not have an actual observable injury on the outside of their skull?
Yes, that is possible.
Okay.
Good. That's an answer I could understand.
Now, in this case, Mr. Cochran had seizures. That's documented in all the records, correct?
Yes, sir.
From your review of everything in this case, could Mr. Cochran have had seizures due to unknown medications or body enhancement drugs in his system?
Of course, it's possible. Yes, there are quite a few drugs that can create compromised brain function and actually start the abnormal electrical activity.
Okay. You talk about in almost the middle of page 2, you say that there were vague circumstances that triggered the investigation into Mr. Cochran's death, exhumation, and autopsy in September 3rd, 2019, the first autopsy. Could you explain or elaborate on what you mean by the vague circumstances?
Well, there was somehow generated a suspicion that the demise of Ms. Cochran was not what was represented at the time of his.
Just say his demise was a result of foul play. You don't have to try and word it weirdly. I think it'll hurt her because, again, my standard is the jury always goes into any case believing 75% people are guilty, because all that reasonable doubt and, oh, you must prove it, people don't care about it. Someone has been accused, they must be guilty. So I'm always going from, we're starting at 75% guilty, and they have to swing it back to 50%. I didn't feel the state put it further up, but these witnesses, it's just word salad. Yes, but he can't even say. What he's getting to now is saying, well, it doesn't look like foul play, but he was asked, why did you look at this? And it's because there was expected foul play in his death, but he can't word things.
Demise, and then the investigation was opened up, carried out, and ended up with an exhumation of the remains.
Okay, now, the first exhumation was done September 3rd of 2019.
Correct.
Mr. Cochran passed away, I believe it was somewhere around February. Sorry, do you remember the date that he passed away?
Yeah, Big Lambert, yeah.
Okay, February 11th of 2019, correct?
Yes. Yes.
So the first autopsy was done 7 months after Michael Cochran's death. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And this autopsy was done by Dr. Kubitschek, who was the West Virginia medical examiner. Did you review Dr. Kubitschek's report of the autopsy and exhumation?
I did.
Was Dr. Kubitschek's ultimate findings and conclusion that the autopsy findings themselves were inconclusive and the cause of death was undetermined and the manner of death was undeterminable?
Yes, sir.
What is the cause of death?
The cause of death is anatomical finding in the body or on the body that explain why a particular individual died. This may be the finding of an infarct, a finding of blockage of the major blood vessel or the coronary blood vessel, major bleed in the brain, tumor with metastases that stops the vital function of the body, a wound by firearm.
And again, what is cause of death? It's what killed you. You don't have to talk about what could be what killed you. It could either be a natural death or it can be someone who did it to you or an accident. Don't.
Wounds by sharp force, injuries by blunt force, like 2x4 used to hit someone's head, and et cetera, et cetera. So a demonstrable, understandable autopsy finding, anatomical finding within the body or on the body of a particular person.
So is it your job as a forensic pathologist to look for the anatomical evidence of why someone dies, the cause of death? Is that your function? One of them.
Yes, it is. That's the basic function, and it is in the most statutes throughout the union. It calls for a forensic pathologist or medical examiner or coroner to establish the cause of death based on such endeavor.
Just as an aside, what exactly is a forensic pathologist?
A forensic pathologist is a public pathologist. Word forensic comes from Latin word for, which is a place of public gathering, and in such way it depicts a forensic pathologist, whether a man or a woman working in that capacity on behalf of the public and being called upon to interpret any such finding for the benefit of the public, like in a court of law or in the media or any place where such need exists.
I talking about a cheese slider. Yeah, you just it depends on how you do it, but it depends on what kind of how your piece of cheese looks. If it's the short way or the long way, and then you just drag it, so it fits on a perfect piece of bread. That's the way you determine how to slice your cheese. I do like normal cheese. I just don't like all the weird cheeses. No, well, yeah, a little bit. Hey, Gina. Where's Irish? She's in Canada, I think.
So there's some degree of interpretation in this, which is based on your medical knowledge. Wouldn't that be a fair statement?
Yes, sir.
What is the manner of death? What does that term mean?
Manner of death is how death came upon a person, meaning the physical circumstances combined with those findings on the body or within the body. And there are worldwide 5 categories of manner of death. There's a natural death, where there are causes from within the body that result in someone's death. Then there is homicide, where there is death resulting from a purposeful act of another person occurred. Then there is a very narrow category of suicide, where death is the result of purposeful act by self and self only. If anyone else is involved, it's a homicide again. Then there is accident as a category of death, where death is the result of untoward effects of someone's act or action, acts of nature, floods, fires, earthquakes, tornadoes, or a person driving a car at a high rate of speed and impacting another vehicle, causing death, or striking a pedestrian somewhere where death results as the untoward effect of capture.
Untoward effect of what? You kind of faded out there.
I didn't hear you, sir.
You said an untoward effect of something, and what did you say? You kind of wrote it out there.
Untoward, the unpredictable and untoward effect that cannot be interfered with or something along those lines. So, like I said, these are something that for the most part, the result of basically
What a way to start a Monday.
the unwilling or unwanted result of someone's act or action.
Okay.
What's your determination
Now-
in this case? Get out of here.
And there is also a last category that provides the opportunity for forensic pathologists to say that they don't know, and that's the undeterminable manner of death.
So undeterminable means they've looked at everything. They can't come to a conclusive determination of the manner of death. So that's called undeterminable, right?
Yes, sir.
Now, you may have covered this in your explanation, but as to manner of death, it's how death comes upon a person, including the physical circumstances surrounding that death. Is that a fair statement?
Yes, sir.
I want to concentrate on the term homicide. Okay?
Okay.
Would it be a true statement that in determining homicide, which is one of those categories that talk about the manner of death, that homicide, if that's a forensic pathologist's conclusion, it has to be demonstrated by their findings, not assumed? Would that be a correct statement?
Yes.
And when I say demonstrated, that is the actual physical findings, and that's the only possible conclusion. Would that be true?
Yes, sir.
Hey, Mandy.
I believe towards the bottom of your page, you're talking about Michael Cochran's nervous system.
On my vacation away from
And
working.
You talk about, and this information came from Dr. Just a moment. Okay, there we go.
I'm sorry. We need this.
I'm Jimmy. How y'all doing?
You know what we do?
Yes.
When did you first meet Marty?
This is in the summer of 14.
And where did you meet her?
We needed this.
That information that you described was from the first autopsy done by Dr. Kubitschek. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Can you summarize or describe your description there, or Dr. Kubitschek's description
Well, the problem is the state didn't do their job proving it. That's my take. I don't know if she did it or didn't do it. I don't care if she did it or didn't do it. I care that the state haven't proven it because, again, unless you prove your case, you shouldn't get to put people in prison for life. He was in the Lori Shaver case. He's the guy who sold her a car and then she came back and got an upgrade. While she was banging her husband, I believe she had a boyfriend as well.
In layman's terms, so we can understand it. I'm not sophisticated enough to actually understand all of these terms. Can you dummy it down for me?
We are talking about the brain of Mr. Cochran at the time.
That's the upgrade to the car. She learned to drive a stick from Jimmy. I only think he banged her once, and then he didn't want to talk to her, ghosted her, and she got mad.
Autopsy, the first autopsy, after the first exhumation, and the report says that everything is fine, that the hard covering of the brain are intact, and the soft coverings are thin and delicate, and cerebral hemispheres are symmetrical, meaning that the parts of the brain are fine. The description basically is referencing the standard appearance of a normal brain when it is taken out of the cranial wall.
Okay.
However,
I want to ask you specific questions on that. Okay.
yes.
Dr. Kubitschek essentially says that Michael Cochran's brain on autopsy was normal. Do you agree or disagree with that?
Well, I have to disagree with that because this was a decomposed brain. We know it was decomposed brain by the photographs that were provided from that examination.
Okay,
So,
and I want to ask a specific question there.
yes, sir.
A person's brain on autopsy after death, and after 7 months of death and burial, what would you expect that person's brain to be? And by that, does the decomposition affect the brain so it shrinks?
A decomposition means falling apart. The tissue is disintegrating. The tissue is breaking up completely. So the brain itself gets fluidity and falls apart. So it is not the same as when it's freshly removed from a cranial vault, someone that has passed away within hours prior to that or within a couple of days prior to that.
Okay, now I want to ask you a question there. Would a decomposed brain that's falling apart, would that be expected to weigh less than a normal brain?
Well, again, just as much as I'm writing the state for their witnesses, I'm with this witness. I'm feeling they are weakening their case of her being innocent because no one understands one word of what has come in yet. I said the same with the Selbright report in the Cam Reed case. No one understood one word of he was saying. Totally a Russian bot did, but he knows it. The rest of us are idiots. You need to give me the dumbed down cliff notes. Just say his brain you couldn't tell if this happened. It was too decomposed. Nothing indicates foul play. Hasta la mañana. See you later. Taco Tuesday is on.
Well, probably of the documented brain weight, but it has the tendency to decrease the actual brain weight and to blur the distinction between the gray matter and the white matter of the brain, which would be the areas to look for any changes in a history like this in this particular case.
Okay, now. It was documented in the medical records that Michael Cochran had, I'll call it an enlarged brain. Do you recall that?
Yes. Swollen brain.
Swollen, expanded.
Yes.
Would these results that Michael Cochran's brain appeared essentially normal, even though it had decomposed over 7 months, would that be likely to confirm that he had an enlarged brain or swollen brain prior to death?
Well,
Would it be an indicator? Would it be an indicator?
It's not a situation where you can make an inference from the decomposing brain about something that is being reported, objectively documented by radiographic imaging.
Okay, all right. So
Stop.
you can't really make that
Ask the
determination
questions.
based just on the post-mortem autopsy. Wouldn't that be correct?
Well, it's not on this post-mortem examination.
That's what I'm getting at. This post-mortem autopsy.
Of course not, because of the inevitable change, the breakdown of tissue throughout the human body over a period of 7 months.
Okay.
Choo. That's such a weird song.
Is the timeliness of an autopsy important in conducting your medico-legal investigation of someone's death?
Yes, sir. It is of critical importance.
Okay. Would it be a fair statement that in Michael Cochran, his body, which was examined 7 months after death, was too decomposed to rule out important anatomic findings such as infection, pancreatic tumors, and in doing a complete toxicology report? Is that a fair statement? It was too decomposed for those things.
Well, it has to be, the answer has to be slightly modified. Decomposition definitely creates a serious impediment. However, sometimes one can find presence of a tumor because tumor tissue is not sometimes as conducive to falling apart as the rest of the normal tissue. So there are exceptions all the way, but as a general proposition, the decomposition of the remains is a major impediment for adequate diagnostic findings.
And in this particular autopsy of Mr. Cochran, the decomposition made it pretty much impossible.
Because he had a history of seizures. And no one suspected foul play till 7 weeks after, or 4 weeks after, and then, or 4 months, and then they didn't arrive at the insulin poisoning till they found a bottle of insulin in her refrigerator or cupboard or wherever it was. So that's why this state looks dumb.
To determine if he had such things as pancreatic tumors. Would that be a fair statement?
Well, it would be a fair statement.
I bet you it's probably something they do in West Virginia because, to be fair to the client, so they don't have the expenses or something like that. The state also had call-in witnesses. I don't think it should be allowed, no matter if it's the one or the other side. You show up in court. Thank you so much, Shore Life, for 5 membership. To Jennifer C. and Jill Johnston and Ralph 707, Sarah Duche, and Crafty Chris is.
And I concur there with the conclusion of the doctors that performed the autopsy, the first autopsy at the time.
And is it true that the pancreas, under normal circumstances, provides the body with insulin?
Yes, it's the specific parts. The pancreas, the islet provides the cells from the pancreatic islet provide insulin for the general functioning of the body.
Now, if a person has pancreatic tumors, that affects their production of insulin. Is that
Corinne McLaughlin.
Well, different tumors of pancreas.
Well, thank you for helping me get to 12,000. It's only because of you, Lefty, because you didn't stream.
It gives different, basically different effects. There may be a tumor of the islet cells, like that we refer to as insulinoma, that can provide large amounts of or abnormal amounts of insulin to the body. Now, there may be cancer of the head of the pancreas that may.
Thank you for 15 months, Iris. 4 months longer than Lefty.
Break down the pancreas completely, cause pancreatic necrosis as well throughout. I mean, there are all kinds of variable possibilities.
I want to concentrate on this particular analysis of Mr. Cochran's pancreas post-mortem. Now, as a general proposition, insulin controls the body's blood sugar levels. Is that true?
Yes.
Would you explain what hypoglycemia is?
Hypoglycemia means, in translation, low circulating sugar in blood.
Okay. So some sort of pancreatic disorder in a normal person.
Can you remember what Brandon and I talked about one day with the Karen Reed case? That stop muddying the water, just stay on the facts. They have spent a week talking about his testosterone. Now it's his pancreas that's a problem. Am I the only one who finds that a little confusing? Because I thought it was because he did a lot of insulin and his bodybuilding and his love of the great physique. But all of a sudden, he has a tumor on his pancreas, an undiagnosed tumor. Yeah, this is yeah, and it's going fast to nowhere. If you're going to build a story to the jury, keep to that story. Every witness, every question must point in the same direction. If you switch it, it's kind of like saying, "Hey, everyone want to go to to DC and instead you fly to Washington State, someone would probably say, but we were told we were going down that route and now we're in Seattle. Yeah, and he's really annoying, the technical guy. He's okay with understanding it, but he's just slow.
Produces insulin, which controls the blood sugar. And if the blood sugar in the body is low, isn't that a definition of hypoglycemia, HYPO?
Yes.
Where would you be in life without my occasional $5 that YouTube brutally taxes? Nowhere, Lefty. As I said, I wouldn't have reached 12,000 without you. And 11,900 more people. But thank you for being one of them. Yeah, but then you have to show it just as
And
well
is
as
it
the other
also
side has.
true that when a person dies and decomposition sets in, that the pancreas, being an organ, an internal organ, is one of the first things to decompose?
Well, yes, because pancreas is also a very active exocrine gland producing proteolytic enzymes. And when the circulation stops, those cells break down and those enzymes leach out, and there is rapid autolysis and decomposition of pancreatic tissue.
Okay. And as a general proposition, internal organ.
Thank you, Kiki K. That's why you watch it on a channel with the commentary, because I will catch up on the break, but at least I'll try to yell at someone while it's going on. And thank you, Vince, for gifting a membership to Laura77.
Organs, of which the pancreas is one, are the first things to break down or decompose post-mortem.
Well, it depends on the rate of preservation due to the ambient temperatures and other factors. But if you're looking at something that, like in this case, this will be the likely pattern of relatively progressive decomposition of internal organs and tissues primarily, and by that meaning the internal organs, and then ultimately what is left of the skin and subcutaneous tissue, and then the bony skeleton, because that lasts the most.
Okay, so internal organs break down first, then the external skin, things like that, and then last is the skeletal system. Is all of that correct? Okay. Did Dr. Kavicek, in his report, mention anything about embalming?
No.
I want to kind of switch gears here and go into a discussion.
Yeah, I remember that he famously had a wife who they claimed he unalived her, but they couldn't prove it. So yeah, I remember that case. That was old. Was that in the 70s or the 80s? Klaus von Bülow.
Discussion of Dr. Uribe's findings and his reports. And you address those at the bottom of page 2. All right?
Yes.
Now, Dr. Uribe's exhuming of Michael's body and his subsequent report is based on the exhumed.
No, he was convicted in 82. And then it was overturned. In 79 is when which left her in a temporary coma as well as an alleged insulin overdose. In 1980, that left her in a persistent vegetative state for the rest of her life. On appeal, both convictions were reversed, and Bülow was found not guilty on his second trial. And his dad was accused of being a collaborator with the guys from Germany. He's Danish, if you didn't know.
Remains of Michael, which took place July 11th, 2023, about 4 years after Michael's death.
12.
Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Can you comment on the greater or lesser extent of Michael Cochran's body? Was it more decomposed, less decomposed, or the same as when Dr. Kubitschek did his examination?
Well, certainly the decomposition progressed, and one would expect it to progress over so many years. And I believe that good Dr. Uribe said that the samples of decomposed human tissues cannot yield any reliable analysis.
Okay. So there was less to work with, less to examine in terms of toxicology, things like that, than there was about 3 years before when Dr. Kubitschek did his examination. Is that correct?
Well, I would say that there was nothing good, no good information coming from Dr. Kubitschek, and there could not have been any better coming from the second exhumation and autopsy that Dr. Uribe did.
Thank you for suffering through this testimony with you. I can't understand hardly a word of this witness is saying. Neither can I. And when I can understand it, it's just word salad. Of course, the body is more decomposed after 7 years. It's some questions you probably need to ask them if you're a lawyer. But again, we are the jury. We don't care. But thank you, Mandy. No one suspected anything insulin related until they found a vial of insulin in her house.
Would it be a fair statement that when Dr. Uribe conducted his examination and findings, Michael Cochran's body was too decomposed to rule out important anatomic findings? Again, of infection, pancreatic tumors, and doing a complete toxicology.
Yes.
Dr. Uribe goes through his examinations, his reports, his reliance on other reports, especially Dr. Krieger's. And he comes up with Michael Cochran's death was a homicide. Can you comment on that?
Ralph, that was from Shore Life Creations. No, because you have to test for insulin specifically, and you wouldn't be able to measure it later because they started putting the dextrose into him. That would wash out the insulin, and again, the insulin is a natural occurring it would be dissolving at that time because it has a life of around 8 hours. So it would be hard to detect. That's why it's a good unaliving drug.
Well,
Let
when
me
they claim,
ask you, first of all,
Yes.
according to your examination of everything, do you believe the evidence obtained through autopsies, reports, etc., would substantiate a finding of homicide as opposed to undetermined or undeterminable? Do you think Dr. Uribe was correct, or do you think Dr. Kubitschek was correct?
I sincerely believe that Dr. Kubitschek was more correct because he did provide the objective assessment and provided also the delimitation of forensic pathologist capacity to make a determination on the basis of nothing. I think Dr. Uribe tried to marry the report with, again, negative findings, completely negative findings from both autopsies, and it made a claim of he might have believed what he said. However, for every such belief, there ought to be a factual, evidentiary substantiation.
Okay,
In order to
let me stop you right.
This is good. He should have stopped the moment he said Dr. Kowalski, or whatever his name is, was more correct than Dr. Uribe, because it seems like Dr. Uribe went in with one eye blind and only looked at things that could confirm the insulin. And then he needed to stop. And then, why do you say that? Because the problem is this guy just drones on.
There. So,
rumor is she will take the stand. That's the rumor. They had a closed hearing about it, but somehow it was all over twit-twat right after.
any manner and cause of death has to be substantiated by what? What did you say? Objective clinical findings, correct?
Anatomical findings.
Okay.
Because we're talking of the autopsies here.
All right.
Objective, demonstrable anatomical findings that are tangible and understandable to everyone, leaving no doubt.
Do you believe that Dr. Uribe's opinion that the manner and cause of death are substantiated and resulted in a homicide, do you believe those findings, those ultimate findings in Dr. Uribe's report are based more on assumptions than the objective findings that you talked about?
I believe that there are no objective findings to substantiate Dr. Uribe's determination. His opinion is an attempt to bridge the gap of the unknown, and that bridge has to be created properly so that there is complete responsible understanding of everyone that is to use such a report.
Is Dr. Uribe?
The reason why I say it's a rumor that she will take the stand is because allegedly her lawyers have confirmed it, but they can always change it. And I'm feeling the same way as Mandy. It could be good, it could be bad. If she goes up there, they have to acknowledge 100% that yes, I'm a fraud, I did it, I'm a bad person, but so is Michael. We were equally good doing this, which will then have her paint a dead person in a bad light. And I think that could backfire. This is the good part in his testimony. Uribe was looking for the holes in the cheese instead of the cheese.
Uribe's report and opinion based on acceptable anatomic and toxicological findings?
No.
So it would be your statement that Dr. Uribe's findings as to Michael's death being a homicide, quote unquote, was not based on actual anatomic and toxicologic findings. Is that correct?
That is correct.
In the middle of the page, you discuss Dr. Krieger's report. And her investigation, reasoning, etc., resulted in her finding that Michael Cochran's hypoglycemia, in her opinion, was due to insulin administration, and she classifies that as a strong possibility. Do you recall that?
Yes, sir.
Does the basic medico-legal requirements, do they require accurate determinations of the cause and manner of death that are not based on
Kyle Rittenhouse.
a definite maybe, as Dr. Krieger states, but rather on a threshold beyond reasonable doubt? Isn't that the correct standard in this report?
Well, it is, because we're talking about death investigation, and also the discrepancy is, as I pointed out, Dr. Krieger is a phenomenal clinician, but Dr. Krieger is not burdened by the duty to define the cause and the manner of death. So the option that she provided is, in all fairness, a good suggestion for furthering the investigation, but the buck stops with forensic pathology, and the person has to provide to the public textual evidence as far as the cause of death and textual evidence about the manner of death. Because the administration of insulin being a strong possibility can come as a result of self-administration, administration by someone else, and then administration by self for the purpose of other things like bodybuilding and other combination of various substances, and resulting in accidental outcomes.
And her report doesn't include who might have injected this insulin, when it occurred, or how it occurred. Would that be a fair statement?
It's a fair statement, but we have to understand that Dr. Krieger is not in the business of examining dead bodies.
Okay. On page 3, there's a paragraph that begins, when classifying the manner of death as a homicide.
It helped her lose some weight, like what was it, 8 million pounds of it? That would be a good joke if she was British.
You state one has a professional obligation to substantiate that determination by reasonable, tangible evidence as someone's purposeful act. Would you explain the rest of that paragraph and your findings?
Well, you know, first, there has to be evidence about anything. And then that evidence has to be interpreted in a reasonable manner for everyone to understand. For example, it's very simple to say, well, gunshot wounds was the cause of death, and someone discharging the purposefully, obviously, that's a purposeful act of firearm, caused it. Then you have a reasonable conclusion of the homicide and a reasonable demonstrable evidence. If someone takes a 2x4 and dashes someone's head and they die, then you have blunt force head trauma caused by 2x4, and obviously a demonstrable purposeful act because someone bashed someone's head. Or if someone had a knife and stabbed someone, thrusted the knife into someone's body once or multiple times, that's a purposeful act. If the individual dies of bleeding caused by that sharp force injury, it's very simple and demonstrable. But in a case like this, there is no information about all those critical circumstances, and one cannot make a certainty about the claim that there was
Have a great flight home.
injection, was it self-injection on to render someone dead, or self-injection to render someone more powerful, build up the greater muscle or something like that, which first would be a suicide, second would be an accident, or injection by someone else, about what we don't have any evidence that would be a homicide. And if we have to be certain about that before we issue a reasonable, congruent forensic opinion. And forensic opinion is a critical document that can provide the basis for further legal action or for no further legal action.
So in summary, do you believe Dr. Uribe's conclusion that Michael Cochran's death was a homicide is the correct conclusion?
If it cannot be substantiated, and he could not substantiate it by physical evidence, then it's not correct. And it is under a grave degree of doubt.
Okay. So you agree with Dr. Kubitschek that the correct findings and conclusion is that the cause and manner of Michael Cochran's death is undetermined and undeterminable.
Brendan, I think this is the Karen Reed case over again. We give them way too many options to think about, and it just doesn't work. Give me a clear yes, no, black and white. Cut through all the BS and just get out of here.
Would that be a fair statement?
At this point, yes. At the point of exhumation performed 7 months later, as they did at the time. I don't know what the results might have been had the autopsy been performed a day or two after his demise.
But as we sit here today, after reviewing everything, do you believe Michael Cochran's death was the manner and cause were undetermined and undeterminable?
Yes, sir.
Just as an aside, now your report is coming about 5 years after Michael Cochran's death. Would it have made any difference or been any benefit to exhume Michael Cochran's body a third time after all this passage of time so that you could personally conduct an autopsy?
I think the missing 911 call will be a very, very big part if she's found guilty, because everyone is sitting there thinking, if my husband was passed out, I would have called 911.
See, would that have been of any benefit at all?
If I believed such a thing, I would have brought it up a long time ago whenever you called me to ask me to look at this case. But I don't think that that would be just a waste of resources for no good purpose, no valid purpose.
So that wouldn't change any of your findings that you've testified to today? Would that be correct?
That is correct.
Have all of your findings and the testimony you've given here today, do they meet the standard of others in your profession?
I firmly believe so.
They're to a reasonable degree of medical certainty. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
If there were questions, thank you.
Thank you.
Let's take our mid-morning break
Yep.
at this time.
So, to cut a very, very long story short, it was too late. They exhumed his body for the first autopsy. It was absolutely too late to do it for the second autopsy. He believes you couldn't tell the manner of death. He would have said it, put it down as unknown, which doesn't mean she didn't kill him, but it's just unknown, kind of like in Karen Reed's case. He believes that Dr. Uribe went in with one half blindfold on and was looking for, he was giving the results and then was working backwards to prove that the result was the correct one he was given before he went and looked at the body. That's what my summation of his testimony would be. I believe that that summation should have been no more than, I don't even know how long. We've been going for an hour, and it's been almost 1.5 hours long. You could have done that in you could have done it in 30 minutes, and you could have been in court, and you could have shut up and just answered the questions, and it would have been great for the defense, because the state's witness Uribe he came off I don't want to say shady, but just he looked kind of like he'd bit into a lemon and was constantly looking away and didn't really answer the questions when the defense asked him. Now this guy is going to be on cross. Oh my God. The mustache is great. I wish I had a mustache like that, but I can't really grow a mustache. No, that's my problem. And I know they'll say, well, he has a history of seizures. He's done it before. But one thing is,
Why do you want to do that?
honey, I'm going to bed because I feel weird. Another thing is him collapsing on the floor.
Are there any matters that we need to discuss out of the presence of the jury?
Not from the defense, Your Honor.
Anything from the state?
Nothing from the state, Your Honor.
All right.
I wish their experts were better, because I would keep this lady off the stand, because the weak case the state have put in all the circumstantial evidence. Now all of a sudden she will have to sit up there. Why didn't you call 911? Everyone here is hung up on the 911. Why didn't you want to take him to the hospital when everyone told you to take him to the hospital? And she's gonna stammer through and say, well, I feel like I feel like he didn't want to go to the hospital, so and it's gonna look disingenuous.
You're still with us, Dr. Dragon?
I don't know if she knew that irreversible brain damage would occur. That's because on the other side, she called over a ton of people. Any one of them, the state trooper, why didn't he say, I don't give a F about what he says. I'm taking him to the hospital. To me, that's also, at least, if she's found guilty because she didn't call 911, they're partially guilty as well. Your clock is wrong. Well, it's 16:50. Just set the clock for that.
Very well. We continue now with cross-examination from the state.
Thank you, AJ. I didn't mean gossip that way. Thank you for being a member for 4 months. And thank you for joining us on Saturday.
Thank you, Your Honor.
I can hear you,
Okay.
sir.
In your report, you stated that Michael took an excessive amount of enclomiphene citrate. Is that right?
I couldn't hear this part. I'm sorry.
Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Okay. In your report, you stated that Michael Cochran took an excessive amount of enclomiphene citrate. Is that correct?
yes.
Where did that information come from?
From the materials that I reviewed. I believe that was the account that was provided by his spouse.
Okay.
It stimulates testosterone production and prevent oligospermia. I don't know.
Were you aware that that substance was tested by the FBI?
Again, something I've learned. Was I aware of what?
That substance had been tested by the FBI?
I'm going to object to that, Your Honor. That hasn't been established yet. There's no reference to what substance, how it was achieved, anything about the specifics.
Your Honor, that has been established. It has been brought into evidence already with both of the FBI gentlemen that testified here. And you heard Lieutenant Bledsoe testify that he received that bottle from Donna Bolt, who advised that she received it from the defendant.
Objections overruled. Pose the question again so that the witness can hear.
Dr. Dragovich, were you aware that the bottle of eclomiphene citrate provided by the defendant was tested by the FBI?
No.
So you were not aware that that bottle was actually found to contain letrozole and not enclomiphene citrate?
No. Yes,
Your Honor,
that's correct. That's correct. I do not know.
In
We
your
approach the bench, Your Honor.
All right.
Yeah, could be. Yeah, it was anything but the enclopramine citrate, which could be because he bought them online and there's no FDA approved black market testosterone. That could be why it was a different stuff that was in the bottle. That's I don't know if you know that sometimes when people buy certain non-prescribed medications they use recreationally, there's a lot of fentanyl in it. So you don't always know what you get if you're not buying it from a pharmacy. Because they have been talking about all this testosterone he apparently took. Yeah, as I said in the beginning, I would like to see some order online that he was getting. I don't know what they call it if you buy it online. I haven't never bought it online, but I do know people who does stuff like that. So yes, that was the bottle with 2 different substances in it. But again, maybe he purchased it, and that bottle was the only one who he got cheated on. I don't know. He could have done it to hide what's in him. Yeah, or he could have been on. Again, if you go down to your local recreational party supplier from Colombia, you don't know what you get in that little baggie. It can be anything from baby powder to pure fentanyl. If it's true that he bought, and I still want to see that web search where he's looking for these drugs online. He could have been cheated by someone. I don't know what is more expensive and stuff like that, but that's a reasonable explanation why there was a different substance in there than what he believed. Yeah, yeah. But she didn't stop it in the end, and I'm if the lawyer could force her to it, why couldn't the police officer, the nurse assistant, why couldn't they just do what he said? I don't care, I'm taking him now, because that's what the lawyer told us. She didn't stop him and say, no, you're not, put him down. So the police officer could just as well 4 hours earlier have said, this doesn't look good, I've seen stuff like this before, he needs a doctor, and put him in his car and gotten him to the hospital. It's if she's smart enough to make a police officer not do it, but not smart enough to make a lawyer not do it, then she's again one of the smartest, dumbest criminals in the world. It doesn't make sense that she could stop a police officer when the lawyer said, well, I said I'm taking him to the hospital, and she didn't do anything. That's my thing. If I have to assign guilt by not taking him to the hospital, then she should have stopped him with the lawyer as well. The lawyer didn't say she was struggling, didn't say that she was trying to force him not to do it. So again, we do not talk about Colombia today. Why? Anything happened in Colombia? Yeah, that's always the problem. One person can't testify. Or he could have kind of on one, yeah. Was known for not taking medication, so without proof, I'm not believing he was drugging himself with insulin and Mexican steroids. Nope, I want to see the proof. That's a very, very, very big. I've said this before. I want to see the pictures of him as a bodybuilder with the great physique and the strong, because I can tell you, I know a few people who have severe medical conditions because they didn't want to stop taking steroids because they have body dysmorphia. They want to be big. And even when one of them went into dialysis, he said, well, I don't want to lose my size. So he kept doing roids. We had a, well, I wouldn't call him famous, but he's a very well-known bouncer in one of the nightclubs, who also was he used to be a professional semi-professional bodybuilder. At his 40th birthday, he got himself a heart attack because he was doing all these roids while he was also doing the party drugs. How did he celebrate? Well, at his 45th birthday, he did exactly the same thing. So some people will never take an aspirin and say, I would never do that. And they will go straight to all the illegal drugs because they're just crazy. Can we just agree that stop watching the news, because for the next 4 years, every Democrat will be crying, every Republican will be celebrating. The next 4 years, I don't know, like the last 4 years, every Democrat was celebrating and every
All
Republican
right,
was
let's
crying.
continue now, please, Ms. Akin.
Life goes on. Politics are only to ruin your life. Stay away from it. It'll make you happier if you don't think about politics. Yeah, but this guy is particularly bad. No, he's not. He's just an a-hole like everyone else. It's just because it's not your guy this time.
Dr. Dragovich, in your review of the records, did you see any evidence that indicated letrozole or even enclomiphene citrate overdose or
That's
usage?
why you're a ray of sunshine.
Not that I remember, no, ma'am.
And where did you get the information that Michael had a seizure?
The hospital, right?
Do you know where that initially came from in your review of the records?
Well, it would be also from the account that the file was provided at the time of the bishop's.
And were you aware of any seizures being observed in the hospital setting?
It seems to me that there were some, but I don't remember specifically every page from the medical records, man.
That's okay. I understand it was a lot of records. Did anything in the medical records substantiate that Michael had a seizure that you recall?
And please never Google any of the things that people will tell you to Google online. It's not true. Because the left will tell you Project 25. The right will tell you smart cities are coming. Both sides will fill you with BS because they need you to be angry at the other side. Today, if nothing else, say hi to a Republican in chat or a Democrat. They are normal people just like you. All of this BS that they will feed you, it's just to make you angry. Don't get angry because politicians who are multi-billionaires, who doesn't give two craps about you, and it's the same all over the world. It doesn't matter if it's Denmark or it's in the US or if it's in Australia. All of them, trust me, I've been in that game for 15 years. Don't give 2 cents about you, and all they do is keep you angry so you will vote for them.
I don't have the materials in front of me, so I can't recall specifically. There was multiplied reference of encephalopathy, but it seems to me that there were references to seizures, either as historical, being presented at the time, or happening there. But I cannot. It's all blurred now in my mind. I'm sorry.
Okay. In your report, you stated that there was evidence that Michael had a head injury. Is that right?
Yes, that was also from the account upon arrival to the hospital.
Was there any evidence that you recall in the actual medical records that indicate that a traumatic head injury had occurred?
No, that was not addressed in the medical record.
And in your report, you also stated that the defendant was the one who took the deceased to the hospital. Would it surprise you to know that that was not accurate based on the testimony we've heard?
I lost the couple of words there. You got blurred. I'm sorry. Can you repeat it?
Sure. In your report, you stated that the defendant was actually the one who took Michael Cochran to the hospital. Do you recall that? I think we might be having some connectivity issues, Judge.
Are you having difficulty hearing the question?
Of course, yes. Now are all the good questions. There's a difference between an a-hole and not being able to control your a-hole without the help of the pens. The pens doesn't control your a-hole. It soaks up what comes out of your hole. And Lefty, in Palpatine's voice, execute order. Stay off the politics. It doesn't make anyone happy. Everyone is just going to sit there in their own little echo chamber and say, the other side is bad. Trust me, I have special sources. It's retarded. Your life will be better if you don't care, because it's not going to change no matter how much you yell in my chat. I am 100% behind no politics.
Question, Doctor.
Dr. Arnold, I'm looking at the at my second page there, and yes, that was my impression that Natalie Cochran brought him to Raleigh General Hospital emergency room.
Would it surprise you to know, doctor, that based on the evidence we've received, the defendant actually allowed Mr. Cochran to lay on the couch for 7 to 8 hours, and a friend actually transported him to the hospital later that day?
That may be the case. I mean, I was not there. I only put what I read was the information I had in order to kind of gauge what was happening at a time.
We'll go back into the medical records. Your report indicates that Mr. Cochran's initial blood glucose at Raleigh General was 76, followed by a next reading of 24. Is that right?
Yes.
However, the evidence actually indicates that the initial blood glucose on arrival was 21.
And yes, politics show is over. I don't care if people super chat. They'll just lose their money. It'll be in chat, but it won't bring it up. Please stay online. And again, this is what happens when people can't stay off politics, because someone always get mad. I think if I want to get mad, I just call Jamie and she'll yell at me.
So where in the records did you locate that information?
I can't tell you off the top of my head, but I know for the fact that there were references to low blood glucose. And when what particular level was at the time of particular hospital admission, I cannot recall now.
Doctor, did you review the MRI of Michael Cochran's brain that was obtained at CAMC on 2/8 of 19?
No, but I read the report and there was evidence of encephalopathy there.
In that report, isn't it true that the diagnosis was actually diffuse hypoglycemic encephalopathy?
Yes, that was written in, yes.
And what does that indicate to you, doctor?
I'm sorry?
What does that indicate to you, that diagnosis?
The diagnosis indicates that there is a hypoglycemic encephalopathy, and that's the point of organization of trying to treat the condition and also to find out why and how this encephalopathy occurred.
Doctor, in your professional opinion, is a blood glucose of 21 compatible with life?
It may or may not be, depending on how fast one reacts to correcting its level of circulating glucose.
And just very briefly, was it your testimony that, just so I understand, that tumor tissue would decompose more slowly than normal organ tissue?
Well, certain tumor tissues that are so-called solid tumors in certain tissues and organs of the body may be undergoing slower decomposition because they're harder than the surrounding quote-unquote normal tissue. So that can happen. And I've seen that in my practice pretty regularly. To see extremely decomposed body of an individual falling apart, and yet tumor nodules sticking out because they decompose slowly. It depends on the nature of the tumor.
Now, Dr. Uribe and Dr. Krieger were not given the benefit of reviewing one another's reports prior to creating their reports, but you were able to review both of their reports in creating yours. Is that right?
Yes,
And you were hired by the defense, is that correct?
I was contacted by defense.
The problem was Friday that they couldn't line all of the witnesses up. One person couldn't do it, and instead of doing 2 half days, they wanted to do 1 full. I know online I found out that apparently it's because someone didn't want to testify or something. I hadn't gotten my tinfoil hat off, so I don't really know. But apparently the witnesses didn't want to testify and claimed they were sick or something. And someone who haven't been in the courtroom, don't know anyone there, and is on a different continent, knew that firsthand. Always trust what you hear online is my golden rule. That's why I know if I buy certain pills, I can grow 5 to 6 inches.
That's correct, yes, and they do
It's not a trick question, doctor, I promise. I'm not trying to trip you up.
Well, he did say he didn't believe that other experts were any good, but he's just too long-winded, and we don't know Holly. We have heard that she will, but it can change. I wouldn't do it if I was her.
In any way, were you compensated for generating a report in this matter, or will you?
Well, then they didn't do anything in these 3 days.
Be?
no, I was not. I am certainly not compensated for the time here because this is my taxpayer time, and my government will send a bill to the lawyers for today. But I think I had about 14 to 16 hours of time put in this, so that was obviously my work after hours. So I will bill for that at my government rate, which is $250 per hour.
Now, when you were creating,
Did he say he only took $160 per hour? Isn't normal expert fee like $350? And I hate that question. Experts are experts. They get paid.
the
This lawyer, even though she works for you, she also gets paid.
report that you generated in this matter, did you initially provide defense counsel with a draft report?
I believe I sent a draft to see if there was anything else that needed to be added to it.
And did you make changes to your report based on commentary that you received?
Your Honor, please note an ongoing objection to this line of questioning.
Very well.
$250. Well, that's
I
still
am not
very
sure
cheap.
that I made much in a way, some typo errors because my secretary made some typographic errors, but there might have been something added. I will have to look back and try to compare that and give you the exact answer. But substantial changes, no, of course not.
Is it true that you were asked to go into more detail as to how Drs. Uribe and Dr. Krieger were wrong in that draft report?
No, let me explain something. I don't believe that I ever said anything about Dr. I don't want to butcher her name, Krieger. Dr. Krieger's report is clinically accurate report. I have no arguments with that report. Well, I have no arguments with Dr. Uribe except for his opinion. If Dr. Uribe, who is my colleague, presented any tangible evidence, I would have not have any opposing opinion. But you know, there wasn't anything, and a forensic pathologist is there to interpret evidence. If there is no evidence, there is nothing to interpret, man.
I wish they could do the talk back like the TMC lawyer with Elaine. Some could say you're doing the same when she asked about the 15 minutes.
Your Honor, at this time, I would like this to be marked as the state's next exhibit.
It will be State's Exhibit number 32, Your Honor.
Thank you.
I know you were lefty, but not everyone talked lefty. So I have to make blanket statements. Because everyone knows you're an a-hole. A lovable one of those.
Your Honor, I would also move for the admission of States 32.
Thirty-two is the draft.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Any further objections?
I don't know, but he's sitting next to the sister, and he was told you have to sit over here if you don't want to be seen. But doesn't it look like a 17-year-old boy? Someone said it's not her son, but
Yes, Your Honor. Just a moment.
come on now.
I object to the admission of this exhibit.
All right, I'll admit it over the defense objections, and I'll preserve the defendant's objections.
Thank you, Your Honor. Dr. Dragovich, in your professional opinion, what killed Michael Cochran?
I don't know.
So you don't believe that the profound hypoglycemia or the swelling on his brain caused by the hypoglycemia contributed to his death in any way?
I'm going to object to that question. There's no evidence that his hypoglycemia caused the swelling of his brain. That's a
Thank you, Mandy.
mischaracterization of the evidence.
Your Honor, the diagnosis on that MRI is diffuse hypoglycemic encephalopathy.
I'll overrule the objection. You may continue. Ask the question again, Ms. Akron.
Dr. Dragovich, the question was, you do not believe that the decedent's profound hypoglycemia or the significant swelling on his brain caused by that hypoglycemia led to his death?
I would think that's one of the components, but why and how it happened and what the approximate causes are have not been defined whatsoever. So the autopsy did not reveal anything along the line, and it did not show that on brain examination that there was anything but decomposition changes according to the autopsy report.
Thank you very much, Doctor. I have no further questions.
You're welcome, man.
Redirect, Mr. Selden.
Yes, Your Honor. Can I have just a moment?
Sure.
So, well, if he doesn't know, is that good or bad? I don't know. He's saying he can't tell because you can't tell by the autopsy because it's decomposed. But the other people say you can tell because of the dip top, and sugar.
Your Honor, procedurally, I believe that I would like a continuing objection to the last state's exhibit, the alleged draft report. And I believe that there were questions as to whether Dr. Dragovich had received
Did Massachusetts have an earthquake?
it, what information was exchanged, and Dr. Dragovich, at this point, has not seen this particular exhibit as entered by the state. I believe procedurally, he would have to see this exhibit before we proceed further on it.
Well, he referenced it in his testimony, and I've given you a running objection. I've preserved your exceptions, and I'll continue to do so.
All right, first of all, I would like to get the state's last exhibit.
All right, it should be up here with the clerk.
Dr. Dragovich, I'm going to ask you some questions on this last state's exhibit, which is stamped draft on it. Okay?
Okay.
And I admit that I prepared this, or you prepared this draft report. I received it and I made some notations on it. Given that, I'm going to go through these alleged changes.
Well, apparently he must have had it because he referenced it.
I circled your initial submission date of December 12th of 2024, and I asked you to change the date to January 6th of 2025 because that's when you submitted your final version of this report. Would you remember that, or does that seem correct to you?
Yeah, that seems correct, yes.
Okay. On the second page of this draft report, I circled a date that you had listed as February 16th, 2019, as the date when Michael Cochran's seizures first started around noon. I corrected that because that was an incorrect date. I notated that the correct date was not February 16th, but February 6th of 2019. Do you recall that?
Yeah, that was a typographic error on the back of my type here.
Okay.
They're trying to type up a load of record daily, and these things happen. So anything that's wrong tends to be corrected.
Okay. And I circled the word ALL and pointed out that was a typographical error. It should be FALL for fall, not all. Do you recall that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. In one line, you're talking about some information that was relayed. You put your client, and I circled that and asked you to clarify it to Natalie Cochran. Is that correct?
That's correct, sir.
In the second paragraph on that page, I circled a representation in that report that Michael Cochran's suspicious circumstances of his death triggered an investigation that resulted in an exhumation and an autopsy, and you had 8 months. I corrected that to 7 months. Was that correction proper?
Yet this, it could be a clerical error, but it's just not good. Yeah, it doesn't look good when your expert doesn't really care about the dates.
Yes, sir.
on the last page, in the third paragraph, you end that paragraph with the word infant. I circled that and put a notation to admit it. Michael Cochran was not an infant.
Why did you bring this expert when his report is this bad? Gets the date wrong, his age wrong, and now you have to stand there and read it in front of the jury? That's, yeah, I know he's not changing his opinion on the report, but it's just, it makes him look shoddy.
Is that correct?
Yes, I was puzzled by that word, but they didn't want to go back to my secretary and criticize her for putting a word that didn't belong.
Why didn't you want to go back to your secretary who was writing a report that you were going to submit to court? Again, I write the state, but I also write the defense. Stuff like this is just bad optics.
But at the end of the sentence, I don't know, maybe she was citing several reports simultaneously, who knows?
Okay,
and of course,
that
FDA secretary.
correction, you said it was because your secretary maybe was in a hurry, whatever. That doesn't change the substance of your report at all, does it?
No, those are the typographic errors. They are, I suppose, inevitable when one does the work. Only people that don't do anything do not make any mistakes. Mistakes tend to be corrected. That's it.
Okay. And in the next to the last paragraph,
sorry,
you're talking about Dr. Krieger and Dr. Uribe's.
Marissa, every time you yell at me because I make spelling mistakes, it's because I'm in a hurry.
Mischaracterization or their findings are not credible or well reasoned. I simply made a notation in that paragraph and I asked, can you go into more detail as to how Doctors Uribe and Krieger are wrong? You did make that representation in your report earlier, did you not?
I did.
Okay, so am I asking you to change your report? Am I asking you to do anything that would affect your conclusions?
Hey, Farley.
No, sir.
As to your eventual final report, do any of these changes affect your conclusions, the validity, anything in your reasoning?
Absolutely not, sir.
She's gotten too famous. She doesn't work anymore.
All right.
Lunch break? Early? I think they have to turn over everything.
You were not present when there was witness testimony or Doctors Uribe and Dr. Krieger gave their testimony. You didn't hear any of that testimony. Is that correct?
That's correct, sir.
Okay. There were some questions directed about the enclophamine vial. I submit that enclophamine vial was given to the FBI by Michael.
Lies, lies, and lies. I did send it, but apparently YouTube or Twitter didn't get it to you.
Cochran's mother, Donna, does that information change anything in your report or cause you any concern about your conclusions?
No,
And it's true, is it not, that Michael Cochran's medical records contain previous.
Because the case, they exhumed him after 7 months, couldn't find any clear signs. The ME who did it reached the conclusion that they couldn't tell why, the manner of death. The manner of death is where they say self-deletion, natural, helped by someone else, or an accident. They couldn't determine that. They tried to take the case to court. It got shut down. Then there was a new DA, I believe, that came in, or a new prosecutor that came in, hired Dr. Uribe, who then 4 years later, or however long it was, dug him up one more time. Now everything was decomposed, couldn't tell anything from it, and relied on the top dip in the blood glucose and said it can only be insulin poisoning. And that's why I said a better expert than this guy could have run circles around it. This guy, he's been going for 2 hours. I don't know what he's saying other than I don't think that's correct.
Seizures that occurred in October 31st through the first week or two in November. That's documented in the medical records, isn't it?
yes, it is.
Or other, yeah, sorry.
And I believe there was some mischaracterization about Natalie Cochran.
Maybe it's someone who is watching the trial. I don't know. I saw someone ask earlier. I didn't even notice this. I don't know who it is.
Driving Michael to the.
Well, the Ponzi scheme didn't really reveal that, because there's no evidence that Michael knew anything about the Ponzi scheme. What I've read from the documents, it's just because he isn't here anymore that they didn't charge him with the Ponzi scheme. Had he been alive, he had been a co-defendant in the Ponzi scheme as well.
The hospital and some misrepresentations about that. The testimony.
She pled guilty to 2 out of 26 charges, got, I believe, 3.75 million worth of assets confiscated, and then got 11 years in prison.
To characterizing the prosecution's questions as mischaracterization and misrepresentation.
Sustained.
The previous testimony that.
And remember, everything you learned about Natalie that hasn't been presented in court shouldn't sway you in guilt or not guilty. That's the big problem about going around looking for background. When you determine a case, it's not that Natalie was whoring around with the pool boy. If none of the lawyers bring in her whoring around with the pool boy, it hasn't existed in the case. Remember that always, because a lot of people will go around and say, well, I'm going to dig into this. The jury only knows what's been presented in court.
In this case, shows that although Natalie Cochran herself didn't drive the car to the hospital, she was in the car with Michael, with other people, when Michael was taken to the hospital. Would that information change anything in your report and your conclusions at all?
No, sir.
No one was looking into the Ponzi scheme when he passed away. The state claims the motive was he was about to turn her in, and that's why she did it. That's the motive they gave in opening statement, never proved it at all, never mentioned it again during the trial. So, again, they claim some text that happens 4 months before this happened, 5 months before it happened, shows that he didn't know anything about it and she lied to him. But the kids said, and why can't you trust the kids? I don't, because they seem coach. But everyone who did business with them said, we did business with both of them. So I have no proof of it, but I can tell you that if the feds had both of them still alive, both of them would have been on trial, because the feds don't care. No, I'm not saying that, Holly Mac. Absolutely not. But I'm just saying that's the big issue sometimes, because we are sitting here and saying, why don't they talk about this stuff or this stuff or this stuff? We know all of this stuff. It's like me yelling about them. Why don't they talk about bodybuilding and insulin? They mention it but they don't tell people what it is. Yeah.
One moment, Your Honor.
Okay.
Can you be slower?
Dr. Drakovich, there were some questions by the prosecution about who hired you, who's paying your bills, etc.
How can you prove someone is about to find out? That's my problem. The investigation they claim showed he knew about it was a text to his parents where she wrote, I haven't been completely truthful. Everyone else have said, yeah, I only talked to Michael. I never talked to Natalie. Yeah, I invested $50,000 in the business. Michael told me specifically only to talk to him. That's a big problem, because I would bet you pennies to peanuts, I don't know what the saying is, that if Michael had been above ground the day the feds moved in on the Ponzi scheme, he would be serving time in prison right now. I 100%, because they would be pointing at the ATVs, the motorcycles, and the Cobra, just like I say, and say, he must have known something. They would have charged him just as well as her.
Would it interest you to know that Natalie Cochran's representation is court appointed, and the state of West Virginia would be paying any of your billings?
Who's blocked?
Do you understand that?
I did not know the particulars. There's no difference whatsoever. As I said, in criminal cases, I apply for my time after hours, my government rate. My government rate is $2.50 per hour, and for this testimony,
we still have
you
two
will be
experts
getting
left.
an invoice from my government for these several hours, and for the rest of the hours, I will be sending you the invoice for that same, based on that same rate.
Would any of the questions on cross-examination change your conclusion that the cause and manner of Michael Cochran's death is undetermined and undeterminable?
No, sir.
And in answer to the prosecutor's question, what killed Michael Cochran, you simply stated you don't know. And all of that reasoning is in your report. Is that correct?
That is correct. And consequences are also correct in the medical records and in the radiographic imaging. But the cause and the manner are not and cannot be defined on the basis of that.
I have no more questions.
Anything further, Ms. Acorn?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Any reason to hold Dr. Dragovich?
Not on behalf of the state, Your Honor.
Not.
Thank you very much, Doctor. You are excused.
Thank you, Your Honor. It's a pleasure. Thank you.
You're very welcome. All right, come up, please. Pastes the line. Members of the jury, we're going to take a little bit of an early lunch break. If all goes well, your pizza will arrive a little bit before noon. So you'll have a few minutes to get ready for it. And this will not be cheap pizza. This will be top of the line pizza from Pasquale's for your enjoyment. And there will be several types of pizzas to accommodate your various tastes. So it will be along, and we will have the bailiff deliver it to you in your jury room as soon as it arrives. Just be patient if you would. We'll start up at maybe 15 to 1, and that'll give us some time to relax for lunch. Please do not discuss the case among yourselves or with anyone else, and you may go with the bailiff to your jury room.
Now I have to make dinner super fast again. Save changes. You know, you don't get those, Brandon.
All right. Are there any further matters that we need to take up at this time out of the presence of the jury?
Nothing on behalf of the state, Your Honor.
Nothing on behalf of the defense, Your Honor.
All right. We'll start back up at 15 to 1.
I just don't know how you can prove a dead man didn't know stuff, especially when he's co-signing most of the legal bill, most of the bills, and most of the checks going out. It sounds like afterthought that, well, she clearly did all of it, and we just need. The feds don't care if they can get you. Just look at the YSL case where everything was in a RICO case. If he had been alive, he would have been charged. He would clearly have known everything about it, and he was just trying to hide everything, and they were accomplices. It's the feds. Don't trust them. Everyone is always, oh, the feds, they're the good guys. No, they should be wearing black hats in the movies. No, the first trial was never, it never went to court because there was no proof that she did it. And then they found a guy who said, well, because you can see on his blood glucose levels, it must have been an insulin poisoning. And then they did the second trial. In the meantime, she's been given 11 years for financial crimes. And the state has tried to put it in there all the time, because if you do one thing bad, you must do another thing bad. You know how it is. It's the good old thing. If you're a shoplifter, you probably also kill people, because that's just how it is. Yeah, I want fancy pizza. I'm just gonna have some tagliatella, the pasta with the stuffings. It's a Murdoch type situation. She's a dirtbag, so Murdoch, yeah. I'm going to the cattle auction for lunch. Freshest beef in town. Don't attack the cattle. Well, I'm gonna have some pasta. I'm just a little mad that they put on a show like this. It takes us 3 hours to get through. First 15 minutes of technical problems. Then they bring us an expert who we can't hear and who can't shut up. That expert with cross-examination should have been at most an hour and a half. Because what you really wanted to get out of him is, I can't determine the cause of death. Sadly, he said, I don't know. And there's a big, in my brain, there's a big, if I was sitting in the court and I hear a medical expert saying, I can't determine the cause of death, or I don't know. I don't know is just, I don't know. I can't determine sounds professional. I really didn't like his way of testifying. Really didn't like the way he testified. I think if they had really cut it down, it could have hurt the state's case. I think it might have hurt her case because it was so, well, we don't know how audio was in court, but it was very amateur hour. Don't look at the pin. You demand a member chat. I will forward your complaint to HR. Jamie, Brandon demands a member chat. No, and you can always make sure that what you sign in federal plea agreements is 100% correct. I'm not saying that I don't know anything about the Ponzi scheme. I just know the Ponzi scheme has nothing to do with this, and there was no evidence brought in by the state in this case that Michael had no knowledge or had knowledge. The defense haven't proven it either. They proven more than they proved he didn't know about it. But we're not talking about the Ponzi scheme because, again, a thief hardly ever kills people because that's not their MO. So we have to separate the cases, kind of like the murder case all over again. Well, he did one thing bad, he must be always bad. And again, it's not what the evidence shows. I quit drinking and I have the munchies for everything. Well, yeah, why have two Fall Guys if one is not? Yeah, I think it's tagliatelle. It's with bacon and cheese. It's good. I like it. Farrell is well, she's not because all the kids. It was they didn't start to look at the Ponzi scheme till months after he was dead. You don't have to fear anyone if you're not doing anything wrong. Oh, again. A grand jury can indict a ham sandwich. So if you get on the wrong side of the law, yeah, you might be, but innocent people are put to prison every day. She might have done it to cover up a Ponzi scheme, but I just don't need to know about a Ponzi scheme. I don't need to. And if they choose to use that as a motive, you have to prove to me that Michael was just, and I love the saying, he was just about to spill the beans. No. If you spill the beans, that's proof. Give me that email attachment where he sent all the financial records to Special Agent Lesko Brandon. Then I can buy the motive. Him being just about doing it. I'm just about going on a diet. It won't happen either. But I'm seriously consider doing it. It's not proven in court. It's not brought up. Well, it did get brought up and got put down because they have no proof he was just about to talk to the popo. Just about. What is it with hand shoes and hand grenades? Close enough, isn't that what's the something with horseshoes and hand grenades? Oh, Lefty. Yeah, but it also, technical evidence showed that the state's case also was weak in that one. They haven't proven anyone injected him. The state witness said that there's at least 13 ways his blood sugar could be low. I have the problem that he wouldn't instantly collapse. And I have a hard time believing that she could just punch it in him and say, hasta la taco, and then 5 minutes later he collapses. Unless she might normally be the one injecting him with his anabolic steroids, and then she could up the doses and just say F it, and he could collapse. Maybe that had been a better explanation for the state if they implied that she was the one injecting him with the roids. And because roids and insulin is commonly used in bodybuilding, she knew that she was injecting him and she chose to dirty the mix, so he died. That would have been a better I should write crime novels. Instead of sitting here for 3 hours listening to a guy who got his education in the former Eastern Bloc, I should write crime novels. My plot lines are better than the state's. They have shown they've shown a couple of text messages. I have the ones that was barely readable. I tried to read all of them because I found out they read like 2 words out of a text. So that was really bad. Clothes only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades. Thank you. I'm thinking the jury will find her guilty. I'm claiming not guilty by the way of reasonable doubt, but she will be found guilty in this case unless the next couple of witnesses do really well understand. And I am a multitasker. I don't multitask. This is my second stream today. I got up at 5 and streamed for you people the first time. So I work too much. Yeah, she needs that, and still, if you can bring me the receipts that he ordered illegal drugs online, that would be very good. But I'm going to send you over to the afternoon stream because we are back in 40 minutes, and I have to go make some food. No, we were on the right side because we were covering the crucial entryway to the Eastern Sea that the Russians needed to get their submarines out. So you needed us. No, it's just because if I talk over court, audio will be crap. 75%. Oh, no, I'm way higher. It's closer to 90%. I've been doing this for long enough. No. And that's why I'm saying, bring me the receipts. See you later, alligator. Baltic Sea. Well, I don't speak Yank. I only speak the Mason-Dixon. Everyone, see you later, and hopefully the next witness won't be this bad.
What exhibit are you referring to?
I'm going to make this 100, Your Honor.
All right.
100.
100.
Because it is 100% correct.
So you literally built a cannon?
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
All right, I'm in love.
Go back. Please do that again. Oh, that was the cutest thing I've ever seen.
While I'm waiting for this, did you, whether it's true or not, believe that Mr. Randolph had slept with your wife?
I wouldn't care.
You wouldn't have cared?
No.
Did you believe he had slept with your wife?
No.
Did you believe he slept with your mother-in-law?
Probably did. Everybody has.